Oye, 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 espérate y espérame. Pero vamos a hablar inglés.
No me llama Carlos, ese no es mi nombre, te voy a dar un cocotazo. Tienes que entender que soy muy gino, muchacho. Me da pique porque para ti soy un fracaso. Me da pique porque para los hombres soy Pegaso. Me da pique porque transfo y sobrepaso. Me da pique porque ellos son carrasco. Me da pique porque ellos son carrasco. Un carrasco, dale fuetazo. Un carrasco, dale fuetazo.
Que lo que, mi gente, and welcome back to another episode of the VAMOS HABLAR INGLÉS Podcast. I'm your host, La Reina Taina, and it's April 2nd. It's literally April 2nd. And this is the podcast episode for February 2026. Apologies for being a little late, but you know, darling, life was hitting. Little life updates. I was able to secure a partial scholarship for this semester for film school, so that's helping. I also was able to secure a part-time job after being 8 months of being jobless, unemployed. So the building begins now, basically. We were at ground zero, now we're like building out of ground zero. So that being said, I want everyone to sit back, relax, have your tea, have your coffee, have your water, anything that you need. I got my coffee right now, give me a little energy. I got my little weefy weave, so if anybody wants to partake, we're here. It's probably loud as fuck. Oh shit. And I had a plan for this episode, but I was like, let me change it up. So, you know, because we're thinking about February, we're thinking about, we're reflecting a lot on self-love and amor propio. I wanted to kind of go through, since last time we talked a little bit about the rep print, I wanted to talk more about just making it to where I am today, right? So context, I've been exporting a bunch of old pictures and videos from all the way back to 2016, and I'm trying to archive them and put them into my hard drive so that one, I have more space on my phone and stuff, but two, so that I can like close that chapter of my life, because that was pre-transition. And you know, for me mentally, it's not the best to constantly be seeing pictures like that on my phone and stuff like that. So trying to get them out of the cloud and put them in a hard drive to just do what I need to do, even though I know it's a little safer to do it on the cloud, but you know, it is what it is what it is. So because of that, I've been reflecting on a lot of the videos and pictures that I've seen, and like how much I've grown in terms of my personality, in terms of the trials and tribulations that I had to go through and still go through, that it inspired me to make this episode specifically about my music, because the past 3 years, my music is what helped me not only get through what I was getting through, but act as that tangible achievement marker for me to feel like I'm doing something for me. And I also didn't expand too much when I was talking about the red print. I didn't expand too much on the context of it and how it's going to be a 5-part project or a 5-album project. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that here. And what else? And yeah, we're just going to go through. We're going to talk very lightly, you know, like each EP, each release, when it came out, what was coming up for me during that time based off of like my memory right now, but also based off of all the videos and pictures that I'm exporting and like what that means and all that great stuff. So get ready, darling. I want y'all to get real comfy because we're going to get into it. Let's get it. I'm feeling great. Ya tú sabes. So I want to go and count all the songs that I released, and we're going to count them together. Because again, a big part of, let me backtrack real quick. I want to try my best to ground all of my episodes in Afro-Jotería, because this is an Afro-Jotería podcast. This is the #1 Afro-Jotería podcast on the planet, and that's something that I want to push to the forefront even more. I'm just, you know, I'm battling between the whole marketing capitalism and shoving shit in your face versus like just letting shit happen organically. So that's why I was like, you know what, the first 2 years, let me just do it organically y ya, ¿verdad? Pero ahora, let's get a little more serious, you know, because eventually I want to get my master's, I want to get my PhD, I want to become a professor in film. So all of this is so that I can have a deeper foundation for Afro-Jotería, because I essentially want to be focusing on that. I birthed the academic discipline, and I'm going to codify it with my PhD. That's the goal. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because it is extremely important for Afro-Jotex people, and Afro-Jotex, for people that don't know, are people that fall in the margins between being Latinx, Caribbean, indigenous from the Caribbean, from Latin America, from the Americas in general, and falling into the intersection of also being Afro, whether it is Afro-Indigenous, Afro-Latinx, Afro-Caribbean, and also the intersections of being queer or trans. So that's something, it's very niche, it's very pointy, but it's important because there's a huge population of people, including myself, in that. And there is a way that we look at the world. And because we look at the world in a certain way, it is extremely important to create methodologies and to create systems in which we can analyze the world from our perspective, not from the capitalist perspective, not from the white person perspective. So, por ejemplo, it's important that we, as Afro-Jotex people, have a big ego. That's super important. We always have to make sure that we are patting ourselves on the back, that we are making sure that we take the time to count how many songs we posted, because it takes a fuck ton of time and energy and money to just post one song, let alone an EP, let alone 3 fucking albums. Point blank, period. And it's this constant trend that Afro-Jotex people experience where it's like they reach perfectionism. They try to reach perfectionism. And while they do that, they burn themselves out without giving themselves any credit, because for them, they believe that if I give myself an ounce of rest, an ounce of credit, an ounce of, let me just get this drink, let me just get this smoke real quick, then I'm a failure. And that I'm going to fall into addiction like my ancestors. I'm going to fall into addiction like my parents and all these other things. And I'm going to fall into sin and all this stupid righteousness, religious shit as well. And it's like that we have to also understand context, right? There are certain things that we gotta cut some slack versus other things. And that's why I'm saying that. For example, a white cishet man, they gotta kill their ego. The whole mission for that generation of people, for that population of people, is to kill their fucking ego. The whole point for Afro-Jotex people right now in this time is to grow their ego and expand it. So it's really understanding the perspective in which we're looking at everything. That's why it's really important for me to be here like, nah, we're gonna count all this shit right now. So boom. So let's do it. So we had 3 songs in our first EP that we released November 13th, 2023. I'm going to go into detail on all of them. Then we did a single. So that's 4. Then we posted another single. That's 5. Then we posted another single. 6. Then another one. 7. Then we did an album. So within that album, we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then there were 3 extra songs, but those are the bonus track songs. I said 19, right? Anyways, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And then that's for Toca Corazón. Then I did a single, which is 26, 27, because I did the instrumental as well. That's effort. Did I say 27? I'm on another planet right now. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So about 34 to 35. We're going to round them up. About 35 songs released. And let me see. Yeah. So, boom. 30 to 35 songs released in the past 3 years. Completely by myself. No studio, everything done in a closet, in a house, something. What else? Cover art completely done by me. What else? Photography completely done by me. What else? Lyrics done by me, obviously, with my hand, with my journals, physical paper. Thank you very much. What else? The whole concept, me, duh. And we'll like, and this is gonna be cute because we're gonna go into all the concepts and give them, because they're all little planets. That's my thing. I am a creative director. I love. It's not just like I want to post music. That's the thing that people gotta get out your head. I'm not those people that are like, we're gonna post music and it's gonna go to the club and we're gonna dance. Yes and no. Like some songs are for that. Like go for it. But the whole point is that you're looking at everything collectively now. Now it's like, wow, like. All of this is not only telling a story, but it's a planet. It's its own world. And that's how you gotta treat it. So, Eso mismo. 35 tenemos. And then also for the next episode, I really want to take that time to, the same way that I'm dedicating these episodes to talk about my music, we're going to talk about my blog. So the next episodes moving forward, probably for the rest of the year, we're going to be reading my blogs. So the first episode, not first episode, but the El Siguiente, I'm going to be reading Afro-Jotería, so that we can all have a deeper understanding. If you want to know more about Afro-Jotería right now, you can go to my first and second episode, but I'm going to do another full read from top to bottom, no games. Like, we're going to sit there and we're going to listen to it audiobook style, because I can't, you know what I mean? Like, I can't sit here and perform and do podcasts and do all these other things without you guys doing the homework. You know, I always try to practice the motto of not thinking that your audience is dumb and thinking that they are intellectual and they have the ability to intellectualize and interpret the things that you're presenting. But at the same time, you need homework, because the thing with Afro-Jotería is that it's not like mainstream feminism. It's not like the Black Lives Matter movement, where it's just like you can just be in it, whatever. And that's what I love about Afro-Jotería, and that's why I'm creating it in such a way. Afro-Jotería requires you to do the homework. You can't be an Afro-Jotería like ally, whatever. You can't. Try it. You can't. Sorry. Because then when you do that, then you're just an LGBT ally. Then you're just a feminist ally. And then that's not Afro-Jotería. It's not. And that's why I love Afro-Jotería, because it's going to require every single fucker, Afro-Jotería or non-Afro-Jotería, to do the fucking homework. And be like, oh shit, wait. Because when I don't do the homework, then I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, then I'm really not fighting for the people that I think that I'm fighting for. And that's why we got to make it pointy. So that's why it's important for us to listen to the next episode and to episode 1 and 2 when I'm talking about Afro-Jotería, because my entire, tapestry of music, my soundscape is all on that. And all of this other stuff, for example, in my I'm on Oxnard, we're going to look into it. One of the songs is called Jota. And I have a whole conversation about that. And in my opinion, is one of my favorite, the second rap verse is one of my favorite verses, honestly. It's one of my favorite verses to rap out of all of my songs. So it's like, you have to really take the time to like connect with the lyrics, connect with the beats. Why I'm using the beats. Why is there more bass in here than the other? How is that related to the African diaspora? You know what I mean? Like, every single thing was thought out. It's not this just we're putting it together so we can go to the club. So now, that being said, La Reina Taína, the reason why I wanted to create La Reina Taína as my first like music project, it's an EP, 3 songs, really cute, really cute. This came out in November 13th, 2023. I wanted it to come out on the 14th, but there was like distributing issues, and it was also my first time distributing, so it was a whole thing. But that's why I have the Red Print album being released for the next 5 years, being released on my birthday, because that's the whole point. And the whole point of doing that is when you look at the music industry, the film industry, all these other things, right? You look at these big names and all these other things. It's like that's the one part of me that still stays capitalist, because of the fact that we have to compete with this shit. Because at the end of the day, so there's going to be a billboard. And I'd rather the billboard be me and not Uber. You feel me? So it's like, it's that. So that's why the first album had to be La Reina Taína, because that is what is going to be for the rest of my life. That's my stage name. That's who I am. That's what it is. Point blank, period. With the crown, with everything. It's me already accepting the crown, because, and not even accepting the crown, but the image that you see, for folks that want to follow along, you can go on any platform. I'm on Spotify right now, but you can go on Apple Music, you can go on Amazon, you can go wherever to find all of my music. You can find them under Camo, Camo, and then you can also find it as La Reina Taína as well. Entonces sí. So it's this thing of like, yes, 100% coming into my womanhood, pero también the crown that was already on my head. The crown that was already there, it was just a matter of me seeing the crown and me giving it the visibility that it deserves. So that's the whole point of it, right? This is also thinking about empires. This is the beginning of an empire. This is the beginning of this reign of Reina, of La Reina Taína. So in that we have the 3 songs. We have Kirikiraca, we have Punto de Exclamación, and we have La Reina Taína. In Kirikiraca, that's my baby, that's my first song. long story short, it's like it's a word that I made up, a Dominican slang word, whatever you want to say. And it's basically to talk about like your favorite like strain of weed, and that it's not only your favorite strain of weed, but in your opinion, it's like the best strain out of all of them. So you would call that a kirikiraka. You know, like there's so many names for everything, for all the different things, you know, like Zaza, Ganja, whatever, like. But for me, it was that. And I wanted to create my own thing. So it's like, again, creating the cute little worlds, starting out with that. So 100% like this album was more like party, 100%. I will give that. It was to, you know, initiate, to grab attention. Mundo de Exclamación, same thing. I think that was really in my house EDM era, really trying to give it that, but give it also wisdom at the same time. Something that I really appreciate about this album, but specifically this song, Punto de Exclamación, is that I use that opportunity to play with poetry and like spoken word. I really like playing with, or I really like experiencing concerts, like house concerts, house events, where there is spoken word, whether it's like someone talking or reflecting or whatever may have you, that's not just singing. So it was my first attempt at that, and I was really proud of it because that's something that I want to continue doing, and that I have been continuing doing if you listen to the other songs as well. And then La Reina Taina is basically a cute little origin story. So yeah. And then basically the behind the scenes for my 3 singles was that I was trying to give room for singles to come out. So I had El Cuco come out December 1st, 2023. Then I had Payaso come out January 26, 2024. And then I had Amor Propio come out February 14, 2024. So, you know, one for each month, playing with different themes. For example, El Cuco, for folks that don't know, El Cuco is like the boogeyman or La Chupacabra for the Dominican Republic. And it's something that you will tell kids when they misbehave or whatever may have you. So, you know, they live under our bed or in a closet and they like take you, and they specifically take kids. So I like that. Why do I like that? Because I use that to parallel it with transphobia. Because again, when we think about transphobia, we think about, oh, they see trans people as pedophiles. Oh, you know, it's scary. Or, oh, like, you know, you want to run away from them. So that's kind of the same concept as when you look at the characteristics of El Cuco. So that's why I combine them. So it's kind of playing with that. So it's a little jokey joke, but also like adding real sentiment to it, because something else that's really cool about me is that my foundation when it comes to how I articulate my art is not only through dance and movement, but also through comedy. I loved watching comedy growing up, specifically, you know, Cat Williams, Gabriel Iglesias, a bunch of other people. So that's the thing. And when you also look at trans influencers and trans comedians, like, we always use comedy as a way to combat injustice. And yeah, so that was my way of doing it. And I also had like a little Bad Bunny moment in the middle. Questionable. But then Payaso came on, and then it was a new year, 2024. I had, you know, spent I think like half a year rebuilding myself. I got out of a toxic relationship the spring of 2023. So spending the latter half of 2023 like really trying to understand myself. You know, I had released my first album or my first EP. I went to Costa Rica for my birthday to, like, you know, self-care. It was just a vibe, you know, like even the bartender played my music, and that's something that for an artist that's starting, that meant a lot, obviously, you know, because it's like you put the effort in, and like there's a bunch of other people in the bar/restaurant, they're listening to your music that you just released, and it's just like, you know. So then I wanted Payaso to kind of set the tone for 2024, and that's why, you know, Payaso means clown, and it's referencing this Vine, I think it was, or a YouTube video of a while back when there were I don't know if people in the US remember this, but you know, during Halloween time there were people that were dressing up as clowns and they were like actually killing people. So like there was a girl who was like in middle school and she was commenting on that, and then she ended up doing a little jingle to like, if he a clown, I'm a clown too. Literally, if he a clown, I'm a clown too. Anyways, so I took that little jingle and I turned it into like a song basically. And I talked about myself like playing again. I love this game that I'm playing with duality, with taking double meanings, and like I did that with El Cuco. Now I'm doing that here with Payaso, and basically like talking about how trans people are seen as clowns in this society. And yeah, so it was good. I like this one. I like the rap. It's catchy. It's short. Very popular. And then Amor Propio, this one was more like my attempt at getting into more R&B type vibes, like rap R&B, slow-mo, sensual, sexual, you know. And what I'm playing with here is, obviously it's called Amor Propio. So, you know, I'm talking about self-love, but in the entire song, when you listen to the lyrics and read the lyrics, it plays very poetically, because I'm not necessarily talking about myself until the very end. I'm talking about a person. So if you don't really understand like the whole point of Amor Propio and you're just listening to the lyrics, you would think that I'm talking about a person. And I think that's something that's really important to know as an audience member listening to a trans artist, because I was intentionally doing that. Not only to deceive you, to make you think that I was talking about another person, but to also really sit with two things. One, neurodivergence of multiple personalities, and two, being trans, and understanding that I have lived two lives. I've lived multiple lives, you know, being trans non-binary. So it's like playing with that, with the fluidity, because it has multiple meanings. It's not just like me trying to deceive you and then being like, oh shit, like she's talking about herself. It's like, yeah, that's the layer. That's the first layer. But when you dig deep into it, the context, why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, you know, always remember that, because that's super important. Semioticas. And then I did Jungle Juice and I released this May 1st, 2024, and then I released my first album, my debut album, May 3rd, 2024. So I did this as like a precursor to kind of like get people hype. Jungle Juice is basically that, you know, jungle juice, like you mix in pills and alcohol. It's not great. I've never done that. I'm just saying it's that. And then also jungle music is a genre of house music, I believe, right? It's under EDM, and EDM is under house, or house and EDM. I always get confused if house is under EDM or, anyways, we're gonna do a whole session on that. Don't worry, because I want to get that straight as well. But anyways, eso mismo. It's a genre of music and it's fire. Just listen to it. It's a good time. I had a lot of fun creating that one. And then we go into Amanox Now. And then it's very simple. Amanox Now is that. Que yo estoy cogiendo control. I'm taking control over my life, over my narrative. You know, when you're thinking about Ox, right, you're thinking about we're in a car with your friends or with family or whomever by yourself, and you're connecting your phone to your car so you can listen to music, and you're the one in control, and you know, you go with the beat of the car, the beat of the speed and all these other things, and it's all connected. It's in unison. True story. I was always the aux person. Like, whether if I was driving or I wasn't driving, even when I was a kid, I was always the one on aux. Whether it was changing the radio or actually, you know, putting an MP3 player or a phone, connecting it to play music. I did it for car rides. I did it for parties, functions. And over time, that really inspired me to, you know, to DJ, to play around with DJing and organizing playlists and stuff like that. So, so that's also all of these projects that I release are manifestations into the future of things that are inevitable for me, because these are things that are part of my values and I want to practice as I continue on with my life. So the whole point of Mama Ox Now is to kind of bring to life my DJ personality. And boom. I started out with this song titled Si Tu Quieres Estar en Mi Vida, If You Want to Be in My Life. Very, very rudimentary, very introductory, you know. It's funny. It plays a lot with auto-tune. It was a very fun time. That's it. I was having fun, and that's all that matters. And then the second song is the Nueva Jersey from New Jersey. And it's that. Basically, I talk about being from New Jersey. I talk about exes from New Jersey and how niggas from New Jersey ain't shit. And what else? And it was my first official music video outside of, pre-transition. So like after transition, it was my first like official music video. So then the next one is like a two-parter. So something about me as well is that I grew up heavily on R&B, and a lot of R&B and hip-hop music, they have 2 songs in one track. So it's usually like, which one is Drake's? It's like Good Cameras Gone / something else. Pero stuff like that, or like, not Pound Cake, because Pound Cake was a whole, or was it? Oh yeah, Pound Cake / Paris, something like that, Paris something. But anyways, I really love and appreciate that, because for me, I'm someone that really enjoys music and I love to be in it. And when I think a song is going to end and it transitions to another song, it's something that when I was a kid, I would envision myself getting revived at a hospital with like the little thing that goes 500 watts, that shit. So it's like, I don't know. So I wanted to do that. So it was interesting because my first attempt at that is not like no R&B, nothing, it's not no vibes, because this is 100% depressing. It's called Harta / Manica en America. So Harta means fed up, and then Manica en America is Manic in America. So in the first half is a actual live audio recording of me having a manic episode, and I layered that over with some music and just presented it as is, and then it transitions to a like bassy dembow beat rap, but still in that like eerie, ominous, sad, contemplative type of sonic tapestry. And there I start rapping more about having bipolar disorder, being manic, reflecting on my positionality as a trans person in America, and basically concluding with I can't be here anymore. And really, like, that's being in the US, especially during this administration, would have furthered my manic episodes. And that's basically what I was talking about in that second half of the song, of the track. Yeah, that's why I think the last lyric I say is Por eso me voy para la República. And there you go. And that was even before I was making official plans. It's just I had to get the fuck out of there. Then the next one is Solamente lo Mejor. I thought of those lyrics when I was having another manic episode while waiting for my taxi at the airport. That was not a great time. And then Como un Toro. I really, really like Como un Toro. Actually, fun fact for people that want to know, I may most likely be picking Como un Toro as my song / creative project to expand into my final short film project for this semester. So stay tuned. I really want to be able to post that one. So yeah, I love Como un Toro. Stay tuned for that. Then my first attempt at Brazilian funk is number 6, which is Llora Mi Mamá, where I talk about my grandmother. And it's a 2-parter again, because you know me with my 2-parters and my duality. Llora Mi Mamá is Cry to Me Mama, or also could be interpreted as like cry to me, or like just cry in general. Like, don't cry to me, but just, And ¿qué más? I was talking about my suicidality, that honestly she triggered, and so I was just trying to breathe that out there. And I use Brazilian funk because of the foundational hip movements, because of how when I feel like I need to express things that are very heavy for me, I have to have a really strong bass. So that's something that you'll notice. Keep that in mind as my music progresses. When it's hard for me to speak about things, I need to be able to move my hips in a way that's very radical and very strong. Because, the root chakra is where your stability, your structure, and your identity lies, especially when it comes to family and your idea of what is family for you. So that's why my hips be tied up, and that's why a lot of women of color's hips be tied up. So think about that one. Stretch your hips, ladies. Portadora cultural, cultural bearer. That came from a long time ago. 2 years ago, I had like a work therapist, and basically they told me that I was a culture bearer, and I didn't know what that was. And basically, it's an individual that, not by any specific profession, but just is an entity that is called to archive and preserve culture of any kind. And that's what a culture bearer is. And you go to them to, like, receive that culture as well, and that knowledge of the culture. Then 8 is Jota, which is talking about Afro-Jotería, so go listen to it, period. Then Paris Dupree. Obviously that's way more house, way more voguey. That's my first more like on the Vogue side, so enjoy that one. Negra y Trans, very activisty, but also the rap verses are fire. Flor de Oro, Anacona. I'm talking about Anacona, which is the first female warrior that fought against Christopher Columbus. And Taina, of course, and this happened in Quisqueya, which is the Dominican Republic in Haiti. So yes, and then so I talk about her origins, her history, but then I also combine it with contemporary conflict, specifically with Palestina, and because remember this came out in 2024, so for context. Y después, the last one is My Richness is Life, Pa Siempre. So I took the Pa Siempre from Raúl Alejandro's Pa Siempre, or is that Raúl Alejandro or was that Tiny? Pero uno de ellos, that big album que tiene Bad Bunny, Arca, toda esa gente, esa. And I made it my own thing because again, for them, the Pa Siempre was que yo soy una artista pa siempre. It's not just for el momento. So it's like having that be my last song of the album was really important. And then also My Richness is Life is a quote from Bob Marley that I have tattooed on my right thigh in the handwriting of Jean-Michel Basquiat. So talk about originality, bitch. Let's play. So yes, so there's a short little interview that you can find on YouTube titled My Richness is Life, and you can put Bob Marley. And basically the interviewer was a white dude. He was asking Bob Marley how many cars he has and like what's his wealth and all this other stuff. And he was talking about, the richness. And he was like, my richness isn't any of that. My richness is life, forever. So it's interesting because that's a very old interview, obviously, because Bob Marley passed away. And he said, my richness is life forever. And I have that tattooed on my right thigh. And I got that tattooed in 2023 or 2022. And the Pa Siempre song came out in 2023 or something like that. But I didn't listen to it until after I got my tattoo. So it's just very interesting how all of that is connected. And also paying an ode to Caribbean ideology, Caribbean philosophy. Because again, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, this concept of, awareness of being colonized, but still reaching our indigeneity and our foundations by understanding that our richness was never really taken from us. And it is our life, it is our existence, it is the nature that we still live with. So, eso mismo, full circle. Okay, después we go to November 5th, 2024. This was after the election? It was, right? I think so. This was after the election. I think I did that on purpose. That's why I called it Toca Corazón. Toca Corazón is an album that is really centered around bringing the masses together. Emotionally immature parents part 1 and part 2 are very important for people to understand the third song, which is Toca Corazón. And then the last 3 songs of the album is the instrumentals. And notice how I put them in order. Notice how I ordered them, rather. I didn't put them like part 1, part 2, Toca Corazón, part 1, part 2, Toca Corazón. I have them as part 1, part 2, Toca Corazón, part 2, part 1. And I did that on purpose because, again, y'all, you are not listening. As above, so below. As above, so below. And I'm making it so easy for y'all because if you look at the cover art, what is the cover art doing? It's the same shit. It looks different, but it's not different. I morphed them and I flipped them upside down. And I flipped them upside down multiple times. So the center ones look like they're more wavy, but it's the same shit. It's the same as that shit. As above, so below. If you have heart above, you're going to have heart below. Understand, like, if you have love from within, you're going to have love from without. So that's why I ordered it that way. You know, and it's also very important because it's like you really technically finish the album at the third song with Toca Corazon. And then once that song ends, you're going to listen to the song all over again, but in the instrumentals. So that you can take the time, and it forces you as an audience member to sit with the beats and sit with that beat, because Toca Corazon is a very powerful song. There's a lot going on. So you need to listen to it twice, and the second time without lyrics. So to understand Toca Corazon, to get to the global, you have to get to the personal. How do we get here? And we didn't get here because I'm trans. We didn't get here because blah, 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 blah. We got here because of my parents, because of my parents' parents. And how do we use Afro-Jotería as a lens to see that? Emotionally Mature Parents Part 1, Emotionally Mature Parents Part 2. These are live recordings of my life when I was in survival mode because I didn't have anything else. So I was like, I'm gonna record this because at least this is evidence for my own manic episodes for when I'm outside of this. This is some evidence for me to show to the cops if I need to one day, because I grew up with a very toxic attorney, and I always had to think like that too. I was like, nah, like I already know these motherfuckers are gonna try to fuck me over in the future, so I gotta protect myself. So boom, and that's what that is. Part 1 is live audio of my grandmother telling me that I'm worse than the family, I'm the biggest enemy, that I'm worse than the murderer that murdered my mother, because my mother was murdered, by the way, if people don't know that. Domestic violence by my birth father, yes. And that's what Toca Corazon talks about. And then Emotionally Mature Parents Part 2 is audio of a 2019 fight that I had with my main father figure at the time, Henry Ball. And basically, long story short, I was with my godmother watching a Netflix series, and he happened to walk in when two of the main characters kissed each other, and the two main characters were boys. And he lost his shit, and then that's when I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna die today. So it almost got physical, and it was a whole thing. But again, I ended up recording, and it was like a 30-minute recording. So it took me 4 years to listen to that 30-minute recording, to cut it down, to put it in for a performance that I did on the second Pride Festival that I put together for my city, in which not only I grew up in, but also my family grew up in. So, and then after that, a year later, I turned it into a song. So you need to understand context. Like, this is no joke. Like, this is on some survival shit. Like, I have not met not one trans person, not one person going through this shit, putting all this shit together in such a beautiful way, and doing it in the very fucking city that disowns them. Putting together not one, but two, and I think now 4, because they still continue to do it without me. So now 4, thanks to me, Pride festivals for evangelical, predominantly immigrant, predominantly black inner city in New Jersey. Like, y'all can't touch me. So you're gonna hear a lot of tea because we was exposing niggas point blank. And then eso mismo, Toca Corazón. And then we go into Luigi. So playing along with that, playing along with the politics of that, using that, the way that Luigi exposed United Healthcare is the same way that I was exposing different people or groups of people in this rap. It's an 8-minute rap. It's one of my longest raps. Y eso mismo. Point blank period. This came out March 29, 2025. So, a year after Toca Corazon, as a precursor to get people hyped up for the reprint. And now the reprint. We already, we listened to it y todo. We analyzed it. So basically, to close out, because we've been chatting, to close out, La Première Révolution. I chose that because, again, French Revolution. I think I mentioned that prior, but French Revolution, that's the most common, revolution that we as a globe can, recall. Obviously there's a bunch of other revolutions, but collectively it's okay, yeah, French Revolution. So that's why I want to have the title to be in French. Obviously, the red print stays the red print because that's important. That's its own thing. But I'm going to have 5 revolutions, and it's going to be listed in French as well. So it's going to be the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. And I'm playing with also, like, for all my astrologers that are into zodiac signs and shit, I'm also playing with my Saturn return, because my first Saturn return is between 28, 29, 30. So playing with the big girl, really trying to, and also if you really look at a bunch of young artists that are between ages 25 and 32, they're always talking about Saturn. And also the Evil Cabal always talks about Saturn, because Saturn is a very powerful planet that is used to manifest your future, your long-term plans, strengthen all those things. So that's a big reason why I'm doing it in this way. As I mentioned prior, the red print is kind of a reference, it kind of partially paying an ode, but also reimagining the concept of the blueprint and the pink print. Blueprint by Jay-Z, the pink print by Nicki Minaj. Yikes. And reimagining that, not doing it based off of gender, because like I told you, when you analyze all of the prints, the blueprint was to put black male rappers on the map. The pink print was to put queer and black female rappers on the map. And then the red print is not about gender, it's more about revolution. It's more about, the blood of the human race. It's more about pushing forward evolution for culture's sake, for evolution's sake, for humanity's sake, for nature's sake. And not evolution in like an epigenetics way, like evolution as in like the natural occurrence, or organic occurrence of creation, of imagination, of art creation, of creativity, things like that. And I talk about all of that. I'm creating worlds in every single episode, every single song. I'm creating worlds. So yeah. And then, so this year we're going to have the 2nd revolution on my birthday. I'm going to turn 27. That's crazy. Then the 3rd revolution is going to be posted on my 28th birthday. The 4th on my 29th. And the 5th on my 30th birthday. And, they're also going to act as diaries. These have a lot of references to what I was going through in 2025. So that's what it's going to be as well. Every little like album is going to be, well, not little, but every album is going to be my live journal, my musical journal. That's the whole point of it. And, I'm excited to share that. And I'm excited to see how I'm able to accumulate and articulate my year, because it's already been a crazy year. And we're only in April. How I'm able to take that. Is it raining outside? That's so beautiful. How I'm able to take that and make it rain, literally. So, I like that. Me gusta. I'm going to leave it there. So, mi gente, thank you for listening. This is the VAMOS HABLAR INGLÉS Podcast. I'm your host, La Reina Taina. Thank you so much for listening and taking the time to learn more about my music, my journey, and just always being here to support. It means a lot. If you can, please donate to my GoFundMe. You can find it on my website at www.lareinatajina.com. And nada, vete con Dios y que Dios te da amor, sabiduría y salud. ¡Mua!
No pasa nada, yo vendo agua, meneote culito como Tyler, amor profundo como Haya, flow psicopata como Arda, transfeminista como Gaia.